Okay, good people, good afternoon. No video this morning because there wasn't really much to talk about. I didn't really have anything to go over, but we did have some theme of a practice today, so let's go through what we have. Keep in mind, this was a very, very light practice. It was an ACT practice, which is, I guess, accountability, communication, and technique. So this is like the purest of walkthroughs, which makes sense. We had a game not that long ago. We got a game coming up. You don't want to be going hard in practice every single day. That's how you wear yourself out for the end of the season. But there is some stuff we can take a look at here on this day 16 of Seahawks training camp. Excuse me. Go check out my video on Bleacher Report. Went up earlier this morning. Should be up there. You can view it through the app on my page, or you can view it on the Seahawks page for bleacherreport.com. I posted a direct link to it in the community tab. It's a little 2-minute video. Go check it out. Going to be another one tomorrow and the day after. And yeah, that's what's going on right now. Please like this video, subscribe if you're new, click the bell for notifications, become a channel member for $2 a month. Let's take a look at the handful of notes that we did get from practice today. Again, they're mostly injury related. Jonathan Hankins was discussed briefly when McDonald went to the podium after practice. There is no timetable for Hankins' return. It's a matter of how quickly the back calms down, says Mike McDonald. Basically indicating that there's no way to know. There's no way to know. They're going to wait for the back to chill out, and they have no way of estimating when that's going to happen. It could happen tomorrow. It could happen in a week. It could happen in a month, and they don't want to commit to anything too hard. Hankins is in the building at the VMAC. He's in the meetings. He's not missing that. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If there's one person on this team that can afford to miss training camp, it's probably Jonathan Hankins, a guy who was on the team last year, who played all 17 games, who has been in this league a long time, who is an older player, who isn't going to be called on to do that much this year unless things go very, very wrong. I don't have a big problem with Hankins missing time right now, but it is worth noting that they're not offering up a timetable for him, and they seem a little bit unclear on when he's going to get back. I was pretty cold on the idea of bringing Hankins back in the first place, and this is part of the reason why. Players this old, they're unpredictable in terms of their availability, especially when they play a physical position like nose tackle. The good news is we do have a couple guys like Pili and Bohanna who are fighting to make a good impression while Hankins is out. But are either of them going to make a good enough impression to actually make the team and do something? I don't know. That's less clear. Ken Walker was out again today, but again, there's no injury. It's just a matter of taking it easy with him whenever possible. He did, of course, have the foot injury earlier in camp, but there's no indication that he is, excuse me, that he's hurt right now. There's no indication that he is missing time because of some kind of a physical limitation. This seems to be more of a pacing thing. This seems to be more of a load management thing. So not too worried about that. Oluwatimi was also out, which meant that Jalen Sundle was taking the number 1 reps at center. However, McDonald did indicate that he did feel like they were close on a starting 5. He did feel like they had a pretty good idea of who was going to win the center battle and right guard battle. And if you read between the lines, it's become relatively clear who is winning those battles. Despite Oluwatimi missing the last several days, I think it's pretty clearly him who has looked the best at center so far. And we have a pretty decisive win right now at right guard for Anthony Bradford. Sleeper Seahawks had this tweet here. Christian Haynes has not received first-team reps at right guard in over a week, and that is with him having previously been supposedly competing for it. So it was there, and now it's not. That tells you that he's fallen to the wayside. Lomea, I've heard more about him on the left side than the right side. And Sundell, I'm not hearing a lot about him at right guard either, so it's just, I guess that's just it. It's going to be Olu at center It's going to be Bradford at right guard, and those guys will have to either do well or eventually lose the job. But that's where we're starting, which I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. I don't have a big objection to that. I do like the fact that McDonald seems to think that he has an idea of what's going to happen there. Even if he didn't say this, it would probably just be kind of prolonging the inevitable. But I think it's good to know that he's starting to really zero in on it to the point where he can talk about it publicly. Quick roster note, the Seahawks signed a backup linebacker, Tuputala. And if you guys remember this individual from the Washington Huskies team a couple years ago, he was part of that defense that made a run to the national title game. He was a key part of that national championship appearing team. So Alfonso Tuputala is a Seahawk. And in order to make room for him, they waived Cam Alexander, expected. Cam Alexander was the guy who gave up the long touchdown against the Raiders. He played very little in that game, and after giving up that long touchdown, it seemed pretty inevitable. That was his chance to make a good impression. He made the opposite of a good impression. Not much to say there, except he didn't have much of a chance of making the team anyway. Beyond that, McDonald also, when talking about the offensive line, said they do not plan to rotate on the offensive line once they get into the season, which I think is... I'm relieved by that. I think the idea of rotating on the offensive line is, generally speaking, a terrible idea. I think that rotating at other positions, of course you want to do that. Defensive line rotations, absolutely. You rotate at running back. You rotate on the edge. You rotate maybe tight end. You rotate maybe at receiver. You don't rotate on the offensive line where it's all about continuity and synergy. That's good. And like I said earlier, he's kind of zeroing in on what he thinks the starting lineup is going to be. Cross, Zabel. Sundell is the starting center right now, but Oluwatimi will almost certainly take that back once he gets back from the back injury. And Bradford, Lucas. That's what we're rocking with. I'll say it. I think it's going to be a bad offensive line, but I don't think it'll be terrible like it was the last 2.5 seasons. I think it will be probably not in the top 20, but in the top 25. And with a guy like Kubiak, that should be fine. I don't think that's going to be a big obstacle. And Shamar Jean-Charles has been out since the start of camp. He remains out. He's expected to be back in about a week, maybe a week and a half per McDonald. Probably already too late for him. I think that if he was going to make the roster, he would have already made a good impression by now. The fact that he's been out the whole camp, and I hadn't even heard about him, really. I hadn't heard anybody talk about this guy being hurt. I think that tells you he's got no real chance. So that's really all the stuff that we collected today. That's all the information we have on the Seahawks going into this next week of camp. Super light day, not much to say. Honestly, most of the focus for Seahawks fans has been on division rivals and some of the news we've heard today from them. You've got the Stafford stuff, where he continues to look like he's behind schedule for the start of the season for the Rams. Apparently today he was spending time in some kind of a hyperbaric, holistic health chamber, this immortal chamber. I don't know what kind of Eastern medicine practice this is, but apparently it's like the Lazarus pits. I don't know what's going on, but definitely some funky stuff going on with Stafford, excuse me. And on the Niners side, they seem to be acknowledging that Brandon Ayuk will not play the start of the year. According to Kyle Shanahan, he could be back for week 6, which means the odds of him being back for week 1 when the Seahawks play the Niners are basically nil. Now, I think we all kind of expected Ayuk to be out for that game, but this basically confirms it. So if you had any questions, if you were wondering at all, looks like we won't have to deal with Brandon Ayuk in week number 1. That has been kind of dominating the headlines for us as Seahawks fans these last couple of hours, more so than anything we're hearing about the Seahawks. All right. Everybody have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go live on Twitch in just a few minutes here. We're doing more Phantom Pain. I'm going to get in a session here before dinner. Come check it out. I should be playing more Phantom Pain tonight as well. We got a lot of ground to make up if we want to get through that in time for Delta, which comes out at the end of this month. We've got a bunch more games to get through, but we can do it. But gotta go. All right. Go Hawks.